people money, and they fail in that test of money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives certain people power, whether it be political, physical, they fail in that power. They abuse it, they misuse it, they use it to cause violence, they use it to cause injustice, oppression upon others. They fail in that ni'mah. Allah ta'ala gives sometimes land to someone, they fail in that. There are so many instances of this later on in the Quran al-Kareem. What was Fir'aun not given? What was Qarun not given? But how beneficial were these ni'am, so to say? Was it for them? It wasn't even a ni'mah. It becomes a problem for them. So this ni'mah of fath and victory, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the ayat to reveal to make sure the Sahaba anhum, their tarbiyah remains. The yaqeen remains in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His assistance and through madad from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nusrah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can anything be achieved. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, if we imagine that after years of struggling, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he enters into Mecca as the Fatih, the opener of Mecca Mukarramah, what are the words upon the lips of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam? The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying that وَهَزَمَ الْأَحْزَابَ وَحْدَهُ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا إله إلا الله وحده صدق وعده وثبت عهده ونصر عبده وهزم الأحزاب وحده, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone defeated all of them. We're nothing. He's entering into Mecca, the mighfad, his helmet is on, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is with Sahaba anhum in the form of an army, right? But what is he saying? وَهَزَمَ الْأَحْزَابَ وَحْدَهُ. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who did this. We're just means. We just became a means, a tool. No one says this pen is great. You say the author is great. The pen is just a tool, right? So like that, the Sahaba anhum, they also followed the footsteps of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in this. So فَلَمْ تَقْتُلُهُمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ قَتَلَهُمْ وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ. Even the Rasul alayhi salatu wasallam is being addressed. That you also, what's incident is this, that when the Kuffar of Mecca, when they came and the battle was to ensue, Jibreel alayhi salatu, after Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam comes out from the tent, he was making dua all night. Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam instructs Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to take a handful of sand and to throw it in the direction of the Kuffar of Mecca. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it such that the particles of the sand went into the eyes of each person. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made dua for them and said, Shahatil wujuh, that may they all be disfigured, may they be disgraced. And after that, Jibreel alayhi salatu said, after you throw it, now instruct the Sahaba to go and attack. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts power into that. So وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ. Even when you threw what you threw, it wasn't you, it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that made this happen. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. So why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring these results for you? وَلِيُبْلِيَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْهُمْ بَلَاءً حَسَنًا. Victory, defeat, these are things in this world. There's nowhere in Quran which says that every time believers will be victorious. If we look at the seerah of most of the Anbiya alayhim salatu wasalam, they had no political power in this world. Most of them were beaten. They were oppressed. Rocks would be flung at them. They would be pushed away, driven away. Few Anbiya alayhim salatu wasalam had what we would call political might and power. Sulaiman alayhi salam, Dawood alayhi salam, Yusha alayhi salam to some degree. Some of these Anbiya said, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, only at the end. Even the first few years, is continuously watching behind your back, continuously watching back. Only after Fathu Makkah till Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam was taken from this world, how many years? 2 years. But from a political standpoint, no one considered that to be a huge victory. Why? Because no one cared about Arabia. Everything else wasn't conquered. Rome wasn't conquered by then. Faris wasn't conquered by then. Egypt wasn't conquered by then. All of this happened after that. So politically, if someone says that from a very kind of political perspective only, that there wasn't much conquest, that's not a wrong statement. That's true. But that wasn't the idea. The idea is that what makes success is that those people who have a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that what you're supposed to do, you fulfill that. Whilst you have leadership to fulfill those responsibilities, you're successful. If you don't have leadership, you fulfill your responsibilities, that's successful. What situation a person is in, when he has money, he fulfills those responsibilities, that's successful. You don't have money, you fulfill it, that's successful. So there isn't a kind of a worldly perspective, only a materialistic perspective, unfortunately, which has also come to Ummah today. That until we don't have these materials, etc., that doesn't mean to say you don't work towards something. That doesn't mean to say that, yeah, it's okay, we don't have to have these things. Why? Because we're going to spend the money on all other useless things. That's also wrong. We're not saying that. We're saying that the mark of what is success is not based on materialistic things, nor is it based on a political position. وَلِيُبْلِيَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْهُ بَلَاءً حَسَنًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this was done so that we may test you. How is it a test? The test, the Sahaba received victory over here. So how is there a test here? The test is that after victory, do you still see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the one who is qadir, as the one who is al-khaliq, as the one who did all this? Or do you start thinking towards yourself and looking towards yourself that we did it? Inna Allah sami'un alim. Allah is most hearing, Allah is most knowing. ذَلِكُمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ مُهِنُ كَيْدَ الْكَافِرِينَ. On the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to show how enfeeble the scheme of the disbelievers are. That although apparently they may have had much, but in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no might to it, there's no power to it. In تَسْتَفْتِحُوا فَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ فَتْحٌ. Now, so first the Sahaba addressed, Rasulullah is addressed, now the kuffar of Quraysh are being addressed. That before Abu Jahl with the army, when he left Mecca, he goes to the Kaaba, he holds the curtains of the Kaaba, and he makes this dua. He makes this dua, rather than make dua that, Ya Allah, give defeat to these enemies of ours, he makes this dua in his own takabbur, that, oh Allah, whichever is the better army, let them be successful. Whoever's deen is better, let them be successful. Little does he know, he's making dua against himself. In his mind, because he thinks that they're better. So in his inad and takabbur and arrogance, this is the type of dua he's making. So the Quran addresses that. If you saw conquest, فَقَدْ جَاءَكُمُ الْفَتْحِ. The conquest has come, and it's clear to you where Allah's nusra is. They also believed in Allah. They were mushrik, but they believed in Allah. Right? They are ascribing partners with Allah. So the fath is there. So it's clear to you as well that Allah's fath came to those, as per your own dua, it came to those whose deen is haqq. وَإِن تَنْتَهُوا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you desist from continuing this plotting of yours, that's best for you, in the dunya and in the akhirah. وَإِن تَعُودُوا نَعُودُ. See how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing His ma'iyah with the believers. That if you continue and return to the same acts and antics, then na'ud, we will also continue assisting the Muslimun as well. You do what you want to do, we will help the believers and those we want to give assistance to. وَلَن تُغْنِيَ عَنْكُمْ فِئَتُكُمْ شَيْئًا وَلَوْ كَثُرَتْ. It doesn't matter how many you may be in numbers, it doesn't matter how much material power you may have, لَن تُغْنِيَ عَنْكُمْ فِئَتُكُمْ. Your party and your assembly will be of no avail to you. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ. Why? Because Allah is with the believers. As and when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give fath, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give a fath. And if there is a temporary defeat, then there is a hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that as well. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us some. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله وبحمده أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله